Hi, this is Catherine, and welcome back to Taking Tea with Catherine. I am drinking Celestial Seasonings Tension Tamer because it is a nice herbal infusion for the evening. It's a nice thing to wind down with. It's also nice for the throat, as usual. I'm having a little bit of a frog thing, which is probably just going to be fine. But tea, it really helps. Also, I find myself getting slightly tense about my goals for the year and thereof. And I realized that I think I need to have a little talk with you guys about not stressing it too much. Because I've only been a booktuber for, well, 7 months, I think, as of today. So I'm not the most experienced one. However, I've been through a number of the challenges that have been around, read alongs, etc., and they've been great. But I do find that sometimes I find this in myself and sometimes other people, but it's mostly about me in this case. Sometimes I get really wired about, oh, I need to read only this kind of book because this is the challenge that I joined. And then I said I'm going to read this much of this, and oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And now I'm not really enjoying myself. And okay, sure, I know people watch wrap ups and they see the TBRs. I don't think anyone's coming down with a spreadsheet watching my videos and saying, oh, she didn't read that. Oh, she didn't make this challenge. Oh, no. So, and if you are, guys, you need a new hobby. Read a book. But I think that just for myself, I tend to overthink, and I've said that before. So, in case you guys are starting to feel that way, and I don't think you are, but if just in case, don't worry, be happy. Am I allowed to say that? Not gonna get sued by that whoever wrote that song thing. Um, you know, January comes along. And I mean, people make goals all year long, but January, I mean, that's the main time that people do so. And I mean, there's diet goals, there's exercise goals, there's spending ones and employment ones, and how much time am I going to spend with my, significant other goals? I don't know what people do. But within a few days of January, most people tend to cheat. I like to say cheat because it's not like, but they, cheating on a diet, for instance. You said, oh, I am going, completely, chocolate free or vegan or gluten free or whatever. And, unless it's like serious for your health situation, but like if it's just I should be doing less of this or more of this. And it's, January 5th, and here you are, sitting at home watching television like you said you wouldn't, and eating Snickers bars or whatever it is you like, and now you're saying, oh, I'm a terrible person. You're not. It's a setback, and again, sometimes goals are more enjoyably achieved when you've had a few setbacks. Sometimes, obviously, and that can happen with books too. You may have said, I'm going to read 100 books this year, and it's, July, and I've only read 20. I'm not going to make it, and I'm a terrible person. No, you're not. So, I think these challenges are good to have because they are something to move towards. And sometimes when you're publicizing your own challenges, your self challenges, or things that you've joined, it's nice because you have someone alongside you, cheering you on or running with you, as it were. If you've ever seen a marathon, there's only like one or two winners, like the female marathon winner and the male one usually, and everybody else is otherwise would be considered a loser. But are they really considered that way? No. Everyone's so happy for everybody who's running this marathon, who trained all this time, and who ran whatever miles in New York. It's 26 miles, I think. So, I mean, that's a big deal. So, even if you make it's not as good as you thought you were going to do it, you didn't read things as fast, you didn't read as much as someone else, who cares, right? But that being said, I will mention a few numbers now that I hope to reach, and some of these I may do better, and some of these I may do worse. So last year I read 85 books total. I finished my 85th book a few hours before midnight on the 31st of December. And I was actually pretty surprised. 85 books is a lot for me. And my peak before that was 75 books in 2015. And even then, because I looked back on the books that I read in 2015, because I said, I remember that year. I was very busy. My work was extremely busy. My social life was actually pretty active that year, and other things that I was doing were time consuming. How did I make 75 books even? And then I looked, and like a good 10 of them at least were graphic novels. And I'm not discounting graphic novels, but for me personally, I tend to read them faster. So as a number, if it were novels as in like a 400-page paperback, it would have taken me longer to read each one. I don't know. Some people I know can read over 100 books in a year. I probably could if I really, really, really tried, and I don't think that it's for me personally worth it to try that. I don't have a job that requires that I read books or review them. So most of the time when I'm at work, I'm doing work, not reading, usually. And and I have some more. I don't have any kids to look after or whatever. I don't have an extremely busy life outside of work. However, it doesn't mean that I can just spend all my time reading. So I'm okay with reaching towards 75, and if I do a little more or a little less, it's no big deal. For me, it's personally a healthy amount. If you are watching this and you only read, when I say only, I'm not putting you down, but if you read it, let's say about 40 books a year, because I've had years where I've reached just in the 40s, in recent years actually, and you're saying, wow, I don't compare with these people. I definitely can never have a booktube channel because, I'm not going to have anything to talk about. Honestly, you're reading more, even if you're reading about 20 books a year, than the average person on this earth. So if you're reading about 40 books and you really do want to have a book blog, book vlog, booktube, book Instagram, you know what? You probably could pull it off because you still have plenty to talk about. And if you're enjoying the books or not enjoying them, but you have something to say about it, then yeah. So I've talked already about certain goals of mine, so I'm not going to get into every single one. But yeah, so 75 books is just what I put as my Goodreads challenge and other online challenges as just volume of books I'd like to reach. I made a little challenge for myself as far as books that I own out of that amount that I would like to have read, not counting library books. So I put 50 because I think it's not, impossible. It's attainable. I should be reading a lot more of the books that I own. And out of those books, well, out of the 75 books, really, I did a little what's a quarter of this, quarter of that, but I figure anywhere between 10 and 20 of those books I'd like to be classics. And I think that is also attainable because if I read one classic a month, I would have read 12 in a year, which is already over 10. And if I read 2 in a month, then I will have reached 24, which is more than 20, but I probably won't every month. So somewhere in there, I think is healthy for me, depending on the size of the book too. So those are, like I said, these are challenges I put for myself, or goals, or goalposts or whatever. And I'm deciding that I'm going to like to try to make any of these, but I'm also taming the tension because there is no, life. One's commute, one's day-to-day transactions and interactions can be quite rough. Why pile more stress upon oneself, right? So another thing that I haven't mentioned yet, well, I kind of mentioned in reference to starting a commonplace journal, which I always have, and I have other journals, but I've had book journals in the past, but of all the things that I really want to do better this year is I want to do better book journaling. Some people do bullet journals, and I have tried that in the past. I got a really nice book. I got all those kinds of supplies to put it together. I watched all kinds of sources of, books and Instagrams and Facebook pages and YouTube videos about how to make a good spread setup, blah, blah, blah. And these were really impressive, and I still enjoy watching them. I I tried it and it wasn't for me. It was too much pressure to keep up. And even planners, like organizers planners, I don't know. I never seem to really keep up with them. Surprisingly, most of the time when I have appointments, I can remember when they are. And if I don't think I'm going to remember where they are, I will put them in my phone. And for me, that's enough. But I do like to keep some record of things. And I find that, like I said, last year, 85 books. And I remember some of what I've read in each book, but I forget a lot. And I've just lines and stuff. And I feel like without having to maybe do this about every book I read, I would like to maybe take more notes, write my impressions, copy a sentence I liked, a laugh I had, a criticism I had, a comparison, between this book and another book, and just have a running journal, that might actually be a little more used than my wine journal. When I say wine, I'm not talking about the drink, I'm talking about whining, because I have one of those where I vent and I should burn them. And it's okay, sometimes you got to get things out of your system, but I think I'd rather talk about something that's a little more constructive, and what I'm reading is constructive usually. So I have this book that I got earlier last year now in Barnes & Noble. It was on sale, and I was just starting to put myself on a journal buying ban because I have way too many blank journals right now. It's a shame, although they're pretty cool. But this was one of the ones that made it in at the end, and I think it was like last spring. And it has leaves on it, so it's like, books, leaves, etc. I thought that was kind of nice. I do love the color. It's bright but relaxing at the same time. So energetic but chill. Kind of like this tension tamer. And I don't know if you can actually see this, but there are dots. There are dots in this book, but they're very small. So if you want to do like a layout or a spread or some kind of graph of some kind, you have something to work with. But if you want to treat it as a page where you're just writing notes, or putting mixed media in, or sketching something. I'm not great at drawing, but I do put a lot of pictures of my cats, or my version of the cats, in there, so I might just do that. It's possible for everything, but I can do it without being nervous about, oh, it's not as pretty as this person's book journal or whatever, or it could be just as pretty and it doesn't matter. Either way, it's kind of a no pressure. The other thing is it has like this little flappity mark thing, and it's kind of already made a slight dent on the top, so it's already not entirely perfect. So if I did put other things in, like clippings or whatever, if I get to that point, I don't feel like it's going to destroy the book. Like, there's some journals that if you put things in and suddenly it bloats it and it looks bad, and I spent $20-$30 on this book, and why did I waste it, or whatever. This book was a pretty inexpensive book, and I can beat it up a little bit. So I think I'll enjoy that. I hope I keep up with that. That of all the goals, because if I only read 60 books this year, I won't mind. But if I don't keep up this journal, I might feel a little bit sad about that. I think of all the things. But again, I'm not going to lose my mind over it. All right, so another thing I did, not on January 1st, but I think it was January 2nd, so not too far off. I started my own Bookstagram page. Account? I don't know what they call it on Instagram anymore. But I have, I've had an Instagram for 6 years? I don't know. Thereabouts. And it was my personal one, just with everything, And that was actually sufficient, and probably still could be, but not everyone is interested when I post book stuff on there. And I always feel like a few years back, I realized I was overloading it with pictures of my cat, and then plural cats later on. And although I still put pictures of Freddie and Zenobia on my main Instagram, I don't do as much, and it balances it out. So I have a separate Instagram for my cats, because of course I do. But then I realized, I probably should have something that is more of me, in terms of tea and books and tea, that like I do on this page. page. This is not a page. I can't speak English anymore on this channel. So I started a channel. You know what? This is actually probably putting me to sleep. I started I started an Instagram. I started a joke that is called Taking Tea with Catherine. So that's not hard to remember. And it's brand new, so it doesn't have a lot in there, but it's really just going to be the companion Instagram to this channel, and I think I'll enjoy it. I follow a lot of Bookstagram pages. I don't know what anything is called. I follow a lot of Bookstagrams, and I love people's pictures of their books and pictures. A lot of people do pictures of their beverage with their books, and I don't get tired of it. But some people will, so if I have a separate Instagram for it, you know? So it's something to keep up, but it's not really stressful, because honestly, keeping up in Instagram is not stressful to me, especially because I don't go crazy. I'm not, oh, it has to be perfect looking, as long as it's decent, And I mean, those are my main little goals that I haven't mentioned before. I had endeavored, because I bought 3 of these things. I have Shakespeare for every day of the year, because I want to keep up with Shakespeare. Poem for every night of the year. I mean, these are billed as kids' books in a way, but they have like adult poems in there too. And a poem for every day of the year. And these are gorgeous, by the way. But I had thought, oh, every day I'm going to read a poem from these books. And every day I'm going to read a Shakespeare for these books. And the 1st of January passed by and I hadn't read from any of them. And I said, I'm terrible. And then I said to myself, no, you're not. Chill. And so I'm like, I'll read occasionally. So if I'm feeling like I need to read a Shakespeare, I'll read it from that day, and I'll feel like I've done my Shakespeare of the day. More importantly, maybe is just to enjoy it when I do read it. So I hope that I'm not overthinking, but if you guys have any of the same thoughts, time has come on, all of a sudden a few days have passed into January and you feel like you're not doing things as you thought you would, feel free to comment down below and let me know, not so much about what challenges you aren't making, because I don't want you guys to stress yourselves out, but just, thoughts about things. And, or if you think I'm out of my mind, you can let me know as well, but very nicely, break it to me gently. And if you like hearing me overthink things, you can also subscribe if you like. So this has been Catherine from Taking Tea with Catherine. Maybe a little less tense. Enjoy your year.